How's it going, guys? I played a session at Jamul Casino. I played 5-5 on their live stream, and I'm just gonna get right into it. The only thing I'll say before I start is that my natural style of playing poker, my loose, impatient style, seemed to work really well with the luck that I was having and in this lineup. I opened in the small blind, Jack 8 offsuit. I'm out of position, but I flopped 2 pair. This is a really good flop for us. I wanted to check. It was like the first hand that I played, and the next person to act, bet. I could go for the check raise here, but perhaps in game, just not really thinking things through, I called, and we were off to a turn, which is the ace of clubs. I checked again, thinking that our opponent, if they had a straight with king 10, would bet bigger. So I wanted to see what their bet size would be. They bet small, they bet 75. That indicates to me that they do not have a straight and that our hand is good. So I should be check raising this spot, I think. However, in the game, I decided to just call, get fancy, and go for a check raise on the river, which the river is a jack of clubs, pairs the board. I consider betting, but I ultimately check, and our opponent checks behind. I don't think we got max value here. I think results-wise, it's probably not the best versus their hand. And also, I think I should be raising the turn because he would call off with hands like queen 10, king queen, things like that, depending on my sizing. The next hand, I have the fun hand, 8-5 offsuit. I'm never folding this hand, it folds to us. And we make the call going heads up with the original raiser. The flop is 9-3 deuce. We go ahead and check. They continuation bet. And I have nothing, I have 8-5. I have some backdoor draws, but the fun hand is meant to not be folded. So when he bets, I decide to go for a check raise. I guess I'm repping pocket deuces and pocket threes and sometimes pocket nines. He could also just be, c-betting his entire range, so I go ahead and raise. He decides to make the call, and the turn is an 8. I think that I could be good here most of the time, and I could check to trap to see if they bet and I'll call. Or if I am behind, I could go all in hoping to make an overpair fold, and I would still have some outs. I would have 2 8s and 3 5s to hit. So I go all in and he folds. This next hand is a big one. It limps to me. I'm in the small blind. I look down at 10-7 of diamonds. I want to play some big pots. I came here to play some big pots. I drove 3 hours here to play big pots. I raised to 35 and I get 3 callers. The flop is 5-6-4 with 2 diamonds. I have a flush draw and I'm open-ended. I could c-bet here into the field, but I decide to check. The player to my left decides to bet 75. The other player folds, and then Jason decides to raise. When he raises, I think he has value. I don't think he's bluffing, and I don't think I have fold equity. However, I have a lot of outs. I'm really in bad shape versus a bigger flush draw, but that's about it. Hopefully we're not against that. So I decided to go all in. It's still early in the stream. If we lose this pot, we can battle back. I go all in, and Coley with the pocket 8s makes the call. We all decided to run it twice, and we ran good because we hit a flush on the first board, and then on the second board, wait for it, we brick. So we chop, but we chop up Coley's money. So I included this hand to talk some strategy for a little bit. Why not? I just don't care anymore. I'll just tell you guys how I play. Somebody raised pre-flop to 30. I'm in the strata with 9-7 of clubs. The flop is going to come a paired board. It's going to be 8-8-3. Look at the suits. Heart, spade, diamond. Notice I have 9-7 of clubs. This means that my opponent can't have 9-8 of clubs or 7-8 of clubs. Also, if I were to check raise, our opponent could continue with the hand like they have. Ace queen of hearts, ace queen of spades, ace queen of diamonds. I just don't, I like that my hand doesn't interact with the board because I'm going to get calls from backdoor flush draws, overcards, and I can bluff those cards on the turn or the river. I can make my opponent fold if they even call right now. So I like to check raise spots like this, where our opponent is likely just continuation betting because they raise pre-flop, and we also have some suits and things about our hands that make it difficult for our opponent to connect with the board. So I included this double board PLO bomb pot hand because the pot ends up getting huge. I have ace 5 3 3. I have bottom set on the bottom board, and I have the nut flush draw on the top board. Our opponent bets pot on the flop, and they're going to go ahead and bet pot on this turn. I think that they very much like their hand, so I don't want to raise it here. I want to call and incentivize the person to my left to call, which they do. And now I just hope that I hit the nut flush on the river on the top board, because if we do, we can potentially scoop this pot. We do indeed hit the nut flush. We have the 5 of hearts, so a straight flush is not possible. We go ahead and check it and just rely on our opponent potting it or putting in a bet on the river so that we can raise. And that's what they end up doing. They ask for a chip count stack, and to my surprise and delight, he actually goes ahead and bets the pot. So of course I call here, and I hope the person to my left calls. They do end up folding, but we win a huge pot, nearly $4,000 pot. So now we're starting to heat up in this session. We have a nearly $4,000 stack. We have 10-8 offsuit on the button. Somebody raise. It's a multi-way pot. We go ahead and call. Maybe we get lucky. Flop is 5 6 7, and we flop an open ender. Notice that if the 9 comes, we can cooler somebody that has an 8. We would have the nut straight. So the pre-flop raiser bet 60. We go ahead and call. We hit the 9 on the turn, so now we have the absolute nuts. They go ahead and bet 100. The person in the middle gets out the way, and we consider calling or raising for value. I would want to call to keep their bluffs in, but I think raising here is the move just in case our opponent has an 8, or if they happen to have, you know, a set or 2 pair that they want to see the river with. But our opponent has 7 deuce and nothing happens. This next hand, we have 7-4 offsuit. Shout out Insane Shane. We make a 3-bet in the small blind. We want to play this hand strong for multiple reasons. And 10-9-7 is the flop. If we had aces or kings here, we could go for a check raise. And we have 7-4. It's not quite aces and kings, but you know, we have some outs. If we get called, we can hit a 4 or a 7. So we go ahead and consider how we can win this pot, right? I can win this pot more often if I raise here, I think. So that's what I do. I make it 225, and our opponent thinks about it. They have top pair, an 8. They have a gut shot, so they do make the fold. We're happy with that result. We had the worst hand, so happy to make the better hand fold. Alright, so in this hand, we don't even look at our cards pre-flop. We just call blind in the small blind because we were holding up the game and they said, hey Eddie, it's on you. And my immediate instinct when that happens is just to throw in chips. So I just automatically called at 4-3 of clubs. I flop a gut shot on ace-9 deuce. I check. Notice that Frankie with jack-5 offsuit decides to bet. Okay. Paul calls and I call, chasing the 5. The turn is a king of spades. I check. Frankie checks. And here, I don't think Frankie has a good hand anymore. He was the pre-flop raiser, and Paul was the person who 3-betted. However, Paul also checks back, so I think neither of them have an ace or a king. I'm already thinking I'm going to bluff the river. The river is a 9. I guess I could have a 9. I mean, I could have called the flop with a 9, right? Or I could have called it with an ace. And I would value bet those hands. Also, I have 4 high, so it's not a value bet, but I'm going to go for a bet here representing the 9 or just an ace that I can, you know, it looks like a value bet in my opinion. I use a sizing that's slightly over the pot. The pot is $320. I go ahead and make it $350. I guess I do want them to fold a king. And I do get Frankie to let go of his Jack 5. Now, can I get Paul to let go of pocket queens? Well, the answer is yes. And check out this conversation afterwards from Frankie.
I got nothing. Knew it, he ain't had nothing.
I like that old guy over there.
I was scared of you.
You play tournaments?
Scared, I was gonna raise.
I knew you were scared of him. That's why I did that.
I was gonna raise. I was gonna shove, but then he had. I was like, this dude might have an.
Dude, don't be scared of him, man. Come on.
I was gonna. You saw me count my stuff. Right?
Yeah. As soon as you started counting, I was like, whoop. Oh well.
Black and white.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed playing with Frankie that day. He had great energy. It was his third or fourth time playing poker, and he had fun. And that's, in my opinion, how you should play poker. You should play it very fun, very casual. At least, I don't know, that's how I like to play poker. Here I have 6-3 offsuit. You know, you might think I'm going to fold this hand to an $80 3-bet, but it's my girlfriend Melissa K's favorite hand. And also, if Frankie is in the hand, I'm in the hand. So I go ahead and call $80. We're pretty deep stacked here. I cover the table, and we're going to go multi-way here. I'm looking to win with this hand to make some moves, and I flop a gut shot on 9-4 deuce. A 5 would give me the nuts, and I think if I hit a pair, I could be good too. The 3-better pre-flop decides to bet, which I think could be a continuation bet into the field. So considering that he has a deep stack too, he has $2,300 behind. I go for it here. I make a check raise to 500, ready to play some deep stack poker, ready to make some bluffs post flop, or maybe I get lucky and cooler him, right? He ends up folding, and that's it for this session. We booked the win. We got really lucky. Thanks for watching.
I had a better hand than you, man. I fucking knew it, but I didn't remember who raised.
That's my girlfriend's favorite hand.
God dang it.
There's certain hands I just never give up on. 8-5, 6-3, 9 deuce, 7-4, 7-3.
Oh, that's shitty.
I queen 10.
10 deuce. Yeah, there's like, I'm just gonna die with those, yeah.